Good day, nice to be with you again. Today, because of what's been happening recently around the world, I'm going to talk about terrorism. The United Kingdom, Mrs. Patel, has declared Hamas in its entirety as a terrorist organization. Hamas, as you may know, is the Islamic resistance movement that is ruling over Gaza since 2006, when they won a democratic election. Here in Australia as well, the government has declared Hezbollah, the Lebanese Islamic resistance movement, as a terrorist organization. Nobody mentions what the IDF do and what the Israeli government do to us as a terrorist act. Just to ease into it, the United Nations declared terrorism as such, a criminal act intended or calculated to provoke a state of terror in the general public, a group of persons or particular persons for political purposes. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing a uniform, sandals, or a tie. If you commit an act of terror against the civilian population, you are a terrorist. I do not condone what Hamas does. I do not condone what Hezbollah does against civilians. But the big question here, which is never answered, what about what the Israeli occupation forces in Palestine do? They have been terrorizing us since before the creation of the State of Israel. You remember when I spoke about pre-1948 terrorist acts by the Haganah, the Irgun, and other Zionist terrorist organizations? I said, after Deir Yassin, that infamous massacre, they used it to terrorize us, the local population, in different hamlets, towns, and cities and villages. They used to drop leaflets over us to say, leave or die. They continue to do this because their aim from this terror is to make us leave. They want the land, all of it, for themselves. The current Israeli ambassador to London was given a lecture last week at one of London's famous universities, SOAS, and she was challenged by some of the students. And of course, the chorus went on: anti-Semitism, terrorism act against Israel and free speech. This same lady was the minister of the settlements in Israel, the illegal settlements. And she was quoted as saying that this land, i.e. the land of Palestine, is ours, entirely ours. So there is no room for us, the Palestinians, in this equation. And when that school of thought is challenged by students peacefully, they are described as terrorists, anti-Semites, and against international law. It seems that the international law is designed to exempt Israel. Anything that Israel does against us, against the Lebanese, against any other, the Syrians, against any other Arab population, is considered self-defense. Yet, when we react to that provocation or attacks on civilians, we are tagged as terrorists. The newspapers agree, the politicians agree, and Mr. X blog in the street is sold this idea and he agrees. So what are we to do? How are we, the Palestinians, occupied since 1948, marginalized, humiliated, and pressured every moment of our lives? How are we to react, to resist this occupation and this brutality? It seems we're not. We're not allowed to do anything. We have to accept our lot. There are many articles that I read, especially emanating from America, saying that the Palestinians have been defeated and they must accept their lot and accept what Israel decides is their lot. So, am I condoning the rockets from Hamas? No. Because what happens? Israel provokes and attacks Gaza, the most densely populated area in the world, 2 million people in all. They have no shelter to hide in. They have no army, air force, or navy to protect them. And Israel drops an enormous amount of ordnance over Gaza, killing thousands of people. Then Hamas sends those rockets around the surrounding area of Gaza. Maybe occasionally they kill one person or two. They are terrorists. The Israeli army, the Israeli Air Force, the Israeli Navy encroaches on Gaza and Gazans' life at will. They do every single day of the week. They have curtailed the fishermen of Gaza to 6 miles. And when the fishermen of Gaza go out in their little boats to fish for food, they are bombarded. Who is the terrorist here? So how are the Gazans to fish? How are they to feed themselves? Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Israel rejected that. Israel immediately called them a terrorist organization simply because they dare to resist the occupation and the siege. The international community has never said that what Israel does is a terrorist act. At the contrary, they say what Israel does to us, the Palestinians, i.e. killing few thousands each time, is self-defense. Okay, Israel has the right to defend itself. What about us, the occupied? Do we have any rights to resist? Do we actually have a right for a decent, dignified life? It seems not. I don't know what the answer is. Do you? Thank you for listening. Bless you.